Bible in a year, making it easier to understand.
Imagine it's the year 30 AD. You're standing outside the temple in Jerusalem. It's Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, the biggest, highest stakes day of the year. For centuries, when the high priest finishes the ceremony, this crimson wool thread tied to the temple door has miraculously turned white. It's the ultimate vibe check from God. It's the sign that the nation's L's have been erased, and they've officially secured the W for another year. But then, it stops.
Wait, what do you mean it stops?
For 40 years straight, until the temple is destroyed in 70 AD, that thread stays red. Every single year. The people are freaking out. They're peeking through the doors, seeing that red string, and just sinking. It's like the loading bar on your salvation just permanently froze at 99% and never finished.
Oh my goodness, John. You cannot start the show like that. My heart is actually racing. That is the most main character glitch in history.
Welcome back to the Deeper Dive family. I am your host, John Dalton, and I am amped, truly locked in for day 52.
And I'm Stephanie Dalton. We are so glad you're hanging out with us today. John, you really just went for the throat with that intro. I was sitting here thinking we were going to talk about, well, the uncomfortable stuff in Leviticus 14 and 15, and you pivot straight to a 2,000-year-old supernatural cliffhanger.
Look, we have to, because day 52 is the center of the whole Torah. We're hitting Leviticus 14, 15, and 16 today. We're going from, why is there green mold on my drywall, to why is the high priest walking into a room he's literally forbidden to enter 364 days a year?
It's a lot. And honestly, for our modern seekers out there, shout out to the group chat, some of this text can feel a little, sus. Did I use that right?
She's learning. Yes, it's totally sus. Chapter 14, 33.57 is basically a script for a Restoration Nightmare episode on HGTV. But before we get to the modern mirror analogies in the next segment, we have to lay the context. Because if you don't get the why, the what just looks like God is a really intense housing inspector.
Right. So let's start there. Leviticus 14. We're moving into houses now. Up until this point, the Israelites have been living in tents, right?
Exactly. God is literally giving them a manual for the future. He's like, when you get into Canaan, the land I'm giving you, here's how to handle it when your house gets leprosy. And pause. Scholars say this wasn't actual human leprosy jumping onto a rock. The Hebrew word is zara'at, and in a house, it's basically an infectious, brain rot version of toxic mold or mildew.
I remember our first apartment. We found that spot behind the dresser and I almost crashed out. It's terrifying. But why is it in the Bible? Why does God care about our drywall, John?
Because holiness isn't just a Sunday morning thing, Steph. In the Levitical world, God is dwelling right there in the middle of the camp. If he's holy, the space where his people live has to be maintained as an Eden space. If corruption, whether it's sin or this creeping death mold, starts taking over a house, it's threatening the aura of the whole community.
But here's the part that got me in the research. The priest doesn't just show up and condemn the place. The text says they have to empty the house first before the priest even looks at the mold.
Yes. That's the covenantal kindness right there. See, if the priest walked in and declared the house unclean while your couch and your favorite rug were still inside, those items would be legally unclean too, and you'd have to toss them. By telling them to empty it first, God is actually protecting their stuff. It's like he's saying, I have to deal with the infection, but I'm not trying to bankrupt you while I do it.
That actually changes how I look at it. It's not just rules, it's protection. And then there's that hidden gem from the Midrash, the story about the Amorite gold.
Oh, you have to tell them. This is a total W hidden in an L.
So the ancient Jewish sages, like in Leviticus Rabbah, asked, why would God say he put the plague in the house? And the tradition says that when the Canaanites, the Amorites, realized Israel was coming, they hid all their gold and treasures inside the walls of their homes. So when a poor Israelite is forced by the law to tear down a moldy wall, they find literal treasure.
It's the ultimate glow-up. You think your house is a disaster, you're tearing out stones, you're sweating, and then, boom, Amorite gold. It's a reminder that sometimes the disaster God permits is actually the only way to get you to the treasure He's been hiding for you.
I love that. But then we hit chapter 15, John, and do we have to?
Look, the group chat is going to have questions, Steph. We're talking about bodily discharges, running sores, seminal emissions, menstruation. It's all there.
It's so awkward. I was reading it and thinking, is this demeaning? But then I saw what the scholars call the wholeness theory. The idea is that God is the source of all life. When our bodies lose life-giving fluids, whether it's blood or semen, it's a reminder of our mortality. It's a low battery warning for our physical existence compared to God's infinite power.
Exactly. It's not that these things are sinful. The text is very clear that natural functions aren't moral sins. It's just that they make you ritually unready for the high aura environment of the tabernacle. You need a reset period, washing with water and waiting until evening.
And for the women back then, some commentators suggest this was actually a gift of rest. In a world where you're constantly working, being unclean meant you couldn't be touched or forced into certain labor. It was a mandated recovery period that modern society, honestly, could use a bit of.
For real. No cap. We just push through everything now. But God was like, lock in on your recovery first. And then, Steph, we get to the season finale of the week, chapter 16, Yom Kippur.
This is where the high priest goes behind the veil. The only day he's allowed, right?
The only day. And he's not wearing his bougie gold robes with the gems. He strips down to simple white linen. He has to come humble. And he's got 2 goats. One is a sacrifice for God's space, and the other, well, that's the one for Azazel.
Which most people know as the scapegoat.
Right, but Azazel might actually be a proper name. Some scholars, like Dr. Michael Heiser, suggest it's a name for a demonic figure in the wilderness. So the high priest lays his hands on the goat, confesses all the L's of the nation, and sends that goat out to the ops. It's a symbolic way of saying, take your garbage back. It doesn't belong in God's camp anymore.
It's such a powerful picture of a hard launch for a clean slate. But we've got so much more to break down. John, I want to talk about how Jesus glitched this whole system when he touched the leper.
Oh, the reverse contamination. That's the best part. But we're going to take a quick break first.
Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back to look at the modern mirror and how all of this connects to your life in 2026.
And we are back. Hope you guys grabbed a snack or a full-course meal if you're feeling it, because we are diving straight into the modern mirror segment. Steph, before the break, I was thinking about that moldy house in Leviticus 14, and honestly, it sounds like a total nightmare fuel episode of a home renovation show.
Oh, absolutely. I was just reading a story in the research about a woman named Brittany who bought a new build in 2023, her dream home, right? And within a month, she was literally gasping for air in her sleep. They found 2 million mold spores in the house. It was a complete crashed out moment for her family.
2 million? That is a massive L for that builder. But see, that's exactly the modern mirror here. In Leviticus 14, God is telling the Israelites, hey, I'm giving you this land, but I might put a plague of mold in your house. And our first reaction is like, wait, God, why are you ruining my fit check in my new house? But the priest shows up as the mold detective. He isn't there to cancel the homeowner. He's there to protect the community's aura.
But John, explain the gold in the walls thing again. Because if I'm tearing down my drywall and find mold, I'm usually just crying about the repair bill. How is that a gift?
Okay, here's the modern mirror W. The Midrash, which is like the ancient Jewish commentary team, says the Canaanites knew Israel was coming, so they hid their bougie treasures inside the stones of their walls. So, God puts the mold there specifically so the Israelite has to tear the wall down. They think they're dealing with brain rot mold, but they end up finding literal gold.
So, the disaster was actually the hard launch for the blessing?
Exactly. No cap. Sometimes that moldy situation in your life, maybe it's a job you lost or a relationship that went sus, is actually God forcing you to tear down a wall because there's a hidden treasure behind it that you never would have found if everything stayed pristine. It's a glow-up disguised as a breakdown.
I love that. It takes the ick out of the mold story. But what about chapter 15, the bodily fluids chapter? I know some of our listeners, especially the women, have felt a little main character shame reading these purity laws. Is God saying our biology is gross?
Not at all, Steph. And this is where we have to lock in on the theology. These laws weren't about moral sin. You weren't canceled by God because you had a period or a nocturnal emission. The modern mirror here is the low battery analogy.
Go on.
Think about your phone. When it hits 1%, it doesn't mean it's a bad phone. It just means it can't run the high-energy apps right now. In Leviticus, God is high aura energy. He is the source of all life. When our bodies lose life-giving fluids, blood or semen, it's like our biological battery just dropped. We aren't sinful. We're just unready for the high-voltage environment of the tabernacle.
So the uncleanness was actually a vibe check on our human frailty, and the ritual was just the recharge time?
Yes, and for women, it was a gift of rest. In a world that demands you grind 24/7, God was like, actually, for these 7 days, you are ritually off limits for labor and certain social pressures. It was a mandated stay-at-home era before that was even a thing. God was protecting their health and their boundaries.
That really counters the purity culture myths we grew up with. It's not about being damaged goods or toothpaste out of a tube. It's about being set apart for a high-value relationship with a holy God.
Period. And that leads us to the ultimate modern mirror of the whole book, the scapegoat, in chapter 16. This is the most cinema moment in the Bible. You've got these two goats. One is for Yahweh, the sacrifice, and the other is for Azazel.
Okay, John, I've heard you call the scapegoat the ultimate NPC. Explain that to the group chat.
Okay, look. In a video game, an NPC, a non-player character, is just there to follow a script, right? The scapegoat isn't the main character of salvation. Jesus is. But the scapegoat has one job, to take the garbage of the nation's sins and walk them straight back to the ops, Azazel.
The OP? You mean the spiritual opposition?
Exactly. The wilderness was considered Azazel's domain, the unholy territory of the fallen ones. By laying hands on that goat and sending it out there, the high priest was basically saying, hey, we're done with these elves. We're returning this trash to where it belongs. It has no place in God's camp anymore. It's like a delete history button, but you're actually shipping the hardware back to the guy who hacked you.
That is such a vivid image, John. It's like a hard launch of national forgiveness. But it makes me think, if the goat is carrying the sins away, then they really are gone.
They are gone, Steph. That's the aura of Yom Kippur. It's a total glow-up for the nation. And when you realize that Jesus is both goats, the one who dies to pay the price, and the one who suffers outside the camp to carry the ick of our sin away forever, that's when the brain rot of our own guilt finally stops.
It's the ultimate W.
Absolute W. No crumbs left on that plate. But wait until you hear the hidden gem about the crimson thread in the next segment. It's going to blow your mind, for real.
I think I need to take several seats after all that. We're going to take one more quick break.
Don't go anywhere. When we get back, we're talking about the supernatural glitch in the system that happened in 30 AD. Stay locked in. And we are back from our break. Stephanie, I hope you're ready, because the modern mirror for segment 2 was just the appetizer. We're about to go full main character energy on this finale.
John, you've been teasing this 30 AD glitch since the first 30 seconds of the show. I'm locked in. My phone is face down. I'm ready. What is this crimson thread mystery?
Okay, so we talked about the scapegoat in Leviticus 16. The high priest lays his hands on it, transfers the L's of the nation, and sends it to the ops in the wilderness, Azazel. But post-Leviticus, in the Second Temple era, a tradition started. They would take a piece of crimson wool, a red thread, and they'd tear it in half.
Half and half? Like a best friend's necklace situation?
Sort of, but way more high aura. One half got tied to the horn of the scapegoat. The other half? They tied it to the temple door. And the Talmud, which is like the ultimate record of Jewish history and law, says that when that goat reached the wilderness and the sins were atoned for, the thread on the temple door would miraculously turn white.
No way. Like a supernatural glow-up for a piece of yarn?
Exactly. It was the ultimate vibe check from God. It was based on Isaiah 1 verse 18, where God says, "Though your sins are like scarlet, they shall be as white as snow." Imagine the crowd, Steph. Thousands of people gathered in Jerusalem, eyes glued to that red string on the door, just waiting. If it turns white, the city goes wild. It's a W for everyone. The nation is tahor, clean.
That is so beautiful. It's like God was giving them a physical notification that their deleted history was actually gone. But you said it glitched.
Yeah, the Talmud, and this is Jewish history recording this, not just a Christian fan theory, says that starting around 30 AD, the thread stopped turning white. For 40 years, from 30 AD until the temple was leveled in 70 AD, that thread stayed red. Every single year.
Wait, 30 AD. John, that's exactly when Jesus was on the cross.
Bingo! No cap. The system crashed out because the main character finally arrived. Why would God keep doing the miracle string for animal blood when the ultimate W had been won by the blood of his own son? The shadow era was over. The substance had landed. The thread stayed red to show the people that the old down payment system was no longer enough.
It's like the temple was soft launching its own retirement because Jesus was doing a hard launch of the new covenant.
Soft launching its retirement. Steph, you are the CEO of metaphors today. But it gets even crazier. Think about the reverse contamination we teased. In Leviticus 15, if you touch something unclean, you become unclean. The ek spreads to you.
Right. It's like a virus. One-way traffic. Clean becomes unclean.
But then Jesus walks onto the scene. In Mark 5, there's this woman who has been unclean with a discharge for 12 years. According to Leviticus 15, anyone she touches should get the ick. She's sus. She reaches out and touches the hem of Jesus' robe, and Jesus doesn't become unclean.
He's the reverse contamination. Instead of her L transferring to him, his aura of life and holiness transfers to her.
Yes, he ate that moment. No crumbs. He proved that his holiness is more contagious than our brokenness. The high aura energy of the tabernacle that used to stay behind a veil, Jesus brought it into the streets. He didn't just scrape the mold off the walls of our lives. He rebuilt the whole house from the inside out.
So, for the person listening today who feels like their life is just full of mold, or they're stuck in a sus cycle of sin, they can't break, what's the deets for them?
The deets are this. Stop trying to replaster the walls yourself. Leviticus 14 says you have to call the priest. And our high priest, Jesus, isn't looking to cancel you. He's the mold detective who wants to find the Amorite gold hidden in your struggle. He wants to take your garbage and ship it to the ops forever.
That is the ultimate W for day 52. You don't have to stay outside the camp of God's presence anymore.
Absolute fact. No cap. If you're feeling locked out, just remember that the red thread stopped turning white because the red blood of Jesus made you white as snow forever.
Thank you guys for diving deep with us today. This has been such a journey. John, any final word before we sign off?
Just one. Lock in. Don't let the brain rot of the world tell you that you're too sus for God. You were made for his presence.
We love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow for day 53.
Keep that drip holy, family. Peace.